Welcome to this week's episode of the Success Realtor podcast by yours truly, Colleen Wood. Here is where we celebrate success in real estate and share the wisdom and struggles so that others can be successful too. If you're a new listener, I'm the producing branch manager of the Wood team at Hometown Lenders, and I'm known for helping realtors earn a lot more money in commissions without selling their soul to the industry and while maintaining balance with what's most important in life. I am so excited. Get on the edge of your seat because today we are talking to the incredible Justin Howell, realtor with #1 properties out of the highly sought after Cheyenne, Wyoming. Justin, welcome and thank you so much for joining me today.
Colleen, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You are so welcome. I'm so excited to have this conversation. We dove right into conversation when we jumped onto Zoom here, and I know this is just going to be so awesome. So let's just dive right in. So when you were a kid, what was the first thing you wanted to be when you grew up?
So I actually grew up playing competitive soccer,
Wow.
traveling around the region. Shoot, we played everywhere. Coming out of Wyoming, obviously Colorado was huge.
Mhm.
We won some, I guess, state championships for junior soccer and things like that took us to California and Albuquerque. So we
Wow.
were all over the place playing soccer. So really, I think professional athlete was kind of on my mind. And that quickly transitioned into golf when I was about 12, 13, 14. Fell in love with it when I was on soccer trips. My dad and we would go find golf courses to play in California and New Mexico. So
That's cool.
it quickly changed to golf. And that's kind of just been my huge passion since then. So yeah.
Oh my gosh, how did that all lead up to real estate?
So funny you lead into that. My dad has been a real estate broker for over 40 years. So never thought that I was going to get into the industry. Like I said, I was so sports based, and I actually went to UNLV for school through golf. I mean, led me there. There's over 60 golf courses there. And I was like, well, this is probably a good place to go if you want to play a lot of golf.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
I spent 9 years out there, kind of in and out of the golf industry. I was anything from outside services to working golf shop to caddying, which was a very fun job out there as well in my college years. Well, I hit about 25, 26 years old, and I kind of looked around and was like, man, there's still 50-year-old men running around caddying on the golf course. And I thought, I don't know if my body can hold up to that. I don't know if I want to do that. I need to find something a little more career based. And I had my undergraduate in business marketing, and I thought, well, let's go back home and learn real estate from my dad. So, and that's exactly what I did. I packed all my stuff up. I drove back to Cheyenne from Las Vegas and got my real estate license, learned the ropes from him, which was very awesome. Our offices were right next to each other. He gave me a crash course in about 2 weeks on this is how the systems work, this is how it is, and I just ran with it. So,
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So what you were really seeking was some career strength and a really good foundation to be able to make really good money. You could still golf, still do all of those things without, being so hard on your body. That's so smart. Real
yep.
estate affords us such an amazing lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, golf is not a quick sport. It takes 4 hours. So you do need to be able to have the time to do that. And I feel like real estate at times can afford you to do that, which, is great. And also it's a good business game. I mean, where else can you spend 4 hours with someone and learn about them and ask questions and kind of build that rapport with someone to kind of maybe formulate it into business or relationships of, you know, whatever it may be. So,
Currently right now you're sitting in Alaska, you're on a family trip over there. How many careers allow you to just pack up, go somewhere? You don't have to worry about how many PTO hours you have and making sure that you get back at a certain time. If you got delayed because things happen flying out of Alaska,
yep.
you're still going to be okay. Such an amazing career.
And not only that, got 2 properties under contract while I've been here too. So, I
Oh
mean,
my gosh.
how can you do that, anywhere
That's
else?
amazing. You paid for the trip.
Yeah, there you go.
So what are your 3 big basics in real estate that have helped you to be so successful?
You know, I would say communication, communication, communication.
Yeah.
But if I were to break it down into 3 different things, communication, persistence, and just focus. I mean,
Yeah.
we talked about the cultivating relationships on the golf course. I just think you know, database management and cultivating relationships with people is probably the biggest thing. Just being yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
connect with people on a level that's not fake, and, be yourself. And if they know, like, and trust you, they're going to work with you, simple as that. So,
Yeah. Absolutely. Just super simple, really great basics on how to be successful. So, how do you generate leads? Do you commonly generate new leads on the golf course? Did you happen to meet strangers, or how does that even work?
yeah, golf course has been a huge business builder for me. I mean, I actually play semi-professionally, so I turned pro
Wow.
in 2011, and just going out there and playing golf, and people kind of appreciate the art, and try to teach them some things along the way, and then that leads into this, leads into that, and they may refer someone else to me that, hey, I know someone that's getting ready to sell their house, or they want to buy. And yeah, it's like pushing the snowball down the hill, and everything just
Yeah.
kind of continues to build. So I'm 10 years in now, and I feel like that's continuing to be the case.
Yeah.
So
My brother's a big golfer and he lives in Nevada, and he was harping on me for years. You've got to learn how to golf. And I went and did golf lessons, and it's really not my jam. I'm far better at driving the golf cart and cracking the next beer for you. So that'll work out great. I'll drive the cart. You won't ever not have a beer. My brother does not drink beer when he golfs because he takes it very seriously. You're probably the same way.
you and my wife would get along great. So yeah, definitely. I don't know that she has the patience for it, but yeah, she drives the cart really
Yeah.
well, and she can crack a white claw with the best of them for sure.
Same, same. So, how do you generate new ideas, and then how do you implement them? Like, how do you evolve your business with new ideas and keeping it fresh?
A lot of it is, in my eyes, it's marketing. I mean, we have social media outlets and all these different things at our disposal now. But I try not to recreate the wheel. I mean, there's things that work and there's things that don't. And you just have to keep kind of trying and seeing what works for you. And what works for one generation may not work for another one. So there's personal touches. We try to get some sort of personal touch every month, whether it's sending a mailer out, a postcard, a birthday thing, or just anything like that. Other than that, lately I've just been trying to, with my golf background, a lot of people from my hometown are like, oh, the professional golfer, or he golfs.
Mhm.
It's trying to, I guess, get people off of that and like, hey, I'm not just a golfer, I sell
Yeah.
real estate. And I think that took a little bit of time to get people out of that mindset that hey, I'm not just a golfer. Like, my career is selling real estate. So
Yeah.
really, the social media has been a huge platform for me to do that. Just, sharing all my inventory and showing my activity. Like, this guy doesn't just golf. I think that was the perception that I had for a long time, and
Mhm.
starting to get off of that. And I think that's where the business is starting to grow now. They're like, wow, this guy
Mhm.
is selling some real estate. So
Yeah. Do you have someone on your team that does all of these mailers and keeps track of birthdays and sends things out, helps you with your social?
yeah, so through our company at Number One Properties, we've got a full-time marketing department. So Kim and Larry Sutherland are our brokers at Number One Properties, and they've built this company over about 30 plus years. And we follow a gentleman out of Fort Collins with the group. His name is Larry Kendall, and he
Mhm.
wrote a book called Ninja Selling.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a very big real estate book and, method, I guess, to live by. And that's
Mhm.
kind of where we follow these touches. But yeah, full-time marketing team. We've got all the printing capabilities that, say a Kinko's could do. So
Oh, wow. So you do it in-house.
in-house stuff. Yep. So everything is
Wow.
really professionally done. And yeah, so that certainly helps just save time and money from having to, go to these outside sources and printing companies. And
I would
they,
think so, because that's
yeah, they,
really expensive. I
yeah,
do a monthly mailer as well, and it's not a small amount of money. So that's really
I'd,
smart
s-
to do it in-house.
I'd say that the only difficult part of that is trying to differentiate yourself in those different, marketing categories, where we have about, I don't know, 60 to 70,000 people in Cheyenne population wise.
Yeah.
And as you know, everyone knows like at least 10 realtors, and it's probably more in Cheyenne just because it's a small community. So it's like how many of these people are getting the same exact mailer, that my colleagues are sending to them or whatnot, so I'd say that's probably the biggest challenge. It's just trying to maybe separate yourself a little bit so it doesn't look so robotic, like, oh, they're all sending the same stuff,
Yeah. Yeah, that is hard. That is hard. I'll tell you, just because that, my primary market has always been the Bozeman area, Gallatin County area, and here in Montana. And there are 1,800 realtors in that
Wow.
market. And in a similar size area for population, it's pretty similar. So, yeah, I mean, it's hard. And I think the best advice on that is don't care. Put out a
Yeah.
quality product. Try to not get your ideas from anywhere locally. Look way outside your market for marketing ideas. A lot of times we build relationships with people that are in our industry in completely different markets. I love bouncing ideas off of my friends in Nashville and Florida and, Washington, D.C. And they have some really great ideas and I bring them here and nobody's seen them. So
Sure.
that's a really great idea. But you guys out there listening, don't stress out just because, you have a good idea for a mailer or something and you think somebody else has done it. Just do a high quality version of it. And you're probably going to get, it's going to look better and maybe it won't get in the trash can, but sometimes they do, but they see your name. So it's okay.
That's what I was going to lead into as well. It's like, it almost doesn't even matter. It's the awareness of, hey, they're seeing your name and they're tying it to real estate. And that's ultimately the biggest thing. That's
Yep.
what moves things forward, I guess.
Yeah. 7 times they have to see your name associated with your business to remember that it is. I think it's 7 times a year that they need to see your name. So that's what we make sure that we're doing that. So yeah, that's awesome. So, being a realtor can be pretty tough. It's been a hard couple of years. How do you stay focused and moving forward during these difficulties?
For me, and we kind of talked a little bit before we started the podcast, but this winter was kind of rough. I think I maybe went 3 or 4 months with the interest rate increase, probably 3 or 4 months without a deal. And it's like, that's kind of tough to not see a check for 3 to 4 months. And you have to really think outside the box and go, what can I do or what am I doing wrong? You really kind of analyze your business at that point. And what I did is really focused on my database. I put together real estate reviews for my clients who had bought or sold with me in the past, mainly people that have bought, because I know that there was a lot of equity going on and maybe they didn't know that they had a lot of equity. They just bought and yeah, the market's good, but they don't really know what kind of equity they have in that property. So I essentially did a very detailed real estate reviews. Hey, this is what you purchased your property for in, say, 2014 at this price per square foot. This is potentially what it's worth now. Send them comps, send them what's going on in the market. And, where some didn't turn into deals, some did, and all of a sudden now it's blowing up and people may be upsizing. I mean, I'm 36, almost 37 years old. So I've got people that are buying and selling that have kids and, they're needing more space or their kids are graduating, going to college, and now it's almost like a downsizing period. So yeah, it's just connecting with people, telling them what their property's worth, checking in, saying, hey, I'm thinking about you guys, and hopefully that sort of thing leads to business or new business. I mean, it doesn't even have to be them that buys or sells the property. They could say, hey, Justin sold us our house. You're in the market. They're thinking of you. That's the biggest key, just like we talked about, with the monthly mailers. So,
Yep. And every time you reach out to somebody, it's a little tick in the positive for you. And it might not convert for, months. It might not convert for a year, but so surprising to me sometimes the people that come out of the weeds that I haven't even thought of for a year and a half, 2 years. And they come out of the weeds because, my system has continued to talk to them. We've continuously mailed them something and then here they are and they're ready. And so
yep,
you've got more. It's like planting seeds. You've got more seeds planted than you think that you do by doing the method like you're talking about. And every now and then one pops up. So it's investing.
definitely. Yep.
Yeah, that is so cool and so awesome to be able to think that it's pretty simple to keep that moving forward.
Yeah. Nothing in real estate is immediate.
Yeah.
There's nothing about this business that, oh, you're going to make a commission in 2 weeks. It's like, there's a lot of buildup. Sometimes it takes 6 months before, can get someone ready. They've got to get the property ready. They've got to get their financial situation set up and, So there's photos, there's staging, there's putting it on the market, selling the property. Nothing about real estate is immediate. So that's why it's so important to keep, like you said, those seeds in the ground and watch them blossom over time.
Yeah, absolutely. They always seem to me that they come up when you need them. And I feel like when you think that you're slow and then suddenly here they come, and it's just like, this is why we do what we do.
Yep.
So, Justin, if you lost everything today, what would be the first thing that you would do to rebuild your business?
I'm going to beat a dead horse on this, but again, I'm going to go straight back to that database. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
people in real estate work with those who they know, like, and trust.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going straight back to that database. I'm going to reconnect with people. I'm going to get in the community, get involved, give back, do whatever you've got to do to kind of get that thing going again. I think that's your question, I hope.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, just focus on people,
Yeah.
connect with people. It's a social business. The more you can kind of connect with people, the better your chances are. And
Yeah. Do you ever feel like, because sometimes I feel like this way, sometimes I feel like I've connected so much that they're going to not want to talk to me. Do you ever feel
it's
that way?
they're tired of you.
Yeah.
I think so, but I don't necessarily know if that's the case. I do think that mentally, like, man, is this overkill?
Mhm.
But I think that's better than the other way around. If you're not visible, then they're not going to call you anyway. So
Right.
I'd almost rather be annoying. And I don't know. I try not to be, though. Definitely, I think there's a balance to that. I think you just have to weigh that out. And
Hmm.
well, as long as you're periodically doing it without, overkill, I think it really works.
Hmm. Yeah. I was kind of brought up in I don't know if it's old fashioned, but we just had rules in our house growing up. Like, you don't call people after 7 o'clock at night. You don't call people on Sunday. That these were rules, and that you don't harass people. And so, I've read and implement a lot of like the Buffini stuff and the Carl
Yeah.
White stuff and ninja selling type marketing as well. But when I get to a feeling of like, okay, this would annoy me, I do roll it
Yeah.
back a little bit.
Yeah.
Because
And I
I'm a
think
private person too.
And I think that's a good way to look at it. It's like if it would annoy you, then it's probably going to annoy that person too. So, yeah,
Mhm,
that's a great way to look at it for sure.
mhm. So, what do you think is the smartest investment that you've ever made?
Oh, first coming back and getting my real estate license, I guess, for one,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
two was buying that first home.
Hmm.
And I didn't realize it at the time. It felt expensive, and then 4 years later, I guess did a real estate review for myself and went, "Whoa."
Yeah.
Like, you hear people, real estate's the best investment, real estate's the best investment. Yeah, you hear that, but until you see it firsthand for yourself, it's hard to really understand. So,
Hmm.
my wife and I, we purchased a home pre-pandemic and lived in our starter home for about 4 years. Went through, scraped popcorns, changed out hardware, painted cabinets, refinished hardwoods, put new doors on hardware, you know,
Hmm.
did kind of some of the minor updating things that we wanted to feel comfortable in the home. But then we realized after we went to sell it, it was like, whoa, this really built a lot of sweat equity that we just, I don't know, we kind of wanted to live in something nicer and fresh anyway. But realized later that it was like, whoa, this was a good investment move. Like just, doing these little things, painting, of course, we painted and
Hmm.
it really modernized the home. And we turned around and sold it a year and a half ago.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was definitely a nice return. And then we were able to roll that into our next house and
Hmm.
basically doubled our square footage and got a beautiful view with a nice deck. And so we're really enjoying that. So
I just thought of a really great marketing idea for you is I bet you have pictures of the before and the after on
yes.
that property. And I don't think you would have to disclose, how much you paid and how much you received, but you could
Mhm.
certainly say like, this is what it looked like before. This is the sweat equity that we put into it. And this is how much gain, whether it's a percentage or even if you did share, like, we were able to increase our, profit $150,000 or something. And this is all we did. And it was just my wife and I, and we just put this little bit of work in. And what a great message, especially to young people I mean, I'm seeing a lot of young people, and unfortunately, I think we're in a culture right now where a lot of young people don't know how to do handyman kinds of things. And
Sure.
so they walk into a house and they see something that's dated, maybe it's 80s, but you and I know that houses in the 80s were built pretty darn nicely. They were solid structures compared to some of the, tin can kinds of things that are being slapped up right now to try to solve this inventory issue. That if you can come into kind of an ugly 80s house or an ugly 70s house, and these are the things that you can do, and it has great bones. And I'm just seeing young people just wanting to purchase the new construction. Everything is perfect and it's move in ready.
Yeah.
And they're missing such a boat.
It's not realistic for sure. I mean, for some people, yeah, maybe, but that was just it. It was a 1980s home that we purchased
Yeah.
for our starter home, and
Yeah.
just the layout. We had nice vaulted ceilings, and it
Pretty.
was appealing to us. We had a little entertaining area, patio in the back, large backyard fenced for our dog, and like it just
Yeah.
checked all the boxes for us.
Yeah.
And I don't even know that we felt that we outgrew it. I had sold the current house that we're in now to this lady like 3 years prior, and she said, "Hey, can you come give me a market analysis? I think I'm going to move to Arizona." And I said, "Sure." So I go over there and I'm looking around. I go, "Man, I forgot about this house." I said, I really want to take my wife over here and look at this." So I mentioned that to her, and I'm like, "Hey, do you mind if I brought my wife over here? We might potentially look at buying this from you."
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "Sure." And so that's pretty much how things went down, and
Mm-hmm.
got our house quickly on the market, made her an offer contingent on selling ours, which is difficult to do, but
Mm-hmm.
got ours sold in 12 hours or something silly. Um, but as a testament to the work that we had done too. I mean, it showed
Yeah.
really, really well, and we really decluttered and cleaned it up, and
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
found a good buyer for it. And next thing you know, we were moving into our next home. So,
We bought our first home. It was a 1900s railroad house in Livingston, and we got it, it was in 2010. So
mhm,
it was a foreclosure. And so we got it for super cheap. And we lived in it for 3 years, sold it. We did a lot of the things you're talking about, put a lot of love into it, put a wood stove in it because it was just kind of this, it was a money suck because of the furnace was just humping all the time. So we put a wood stove in it and just gave a lot of love, and we're able to double our money when we sold it. And I saw that the same house is on the market now after these folks that had bought it from us. They've been in there like 9 years now, and they just put it on the market and it's quadrupled the money that we paid for
oh,
it.
well,
And so, I mean, it's like, oh, wish we could have, but that's how we bought the next property. So, but it's
yeah,
just hindsight there is just so much value in real estate. If we can share these stories with young people and people just kind of getting started in real estate, to be like, it's just a time game. So how do you
it is.
market that? And that actually makes me really excited about my own marketing. So tell me about your market. Like, what is it that you guys need right now? What are you seeing? What's your view of the future in Cheyenne?
We're seeing some growth. Kind of like you're saying, there's just a lot of, I guess, areas around us, outside of us, not to mention names, Colorado.
Mhm.
Denver is blowing up. So it's getting very expensive to live in those areas. And I think people are maybe seeing our market and seeing similar weather trends, like weather's not that much different, maybe 10 degrees colder than
Mhm.
Denver in a general aspect, but they can buy twice the property for the same amount in Cheyenne. So I think that's becoming apparent. And with remote work now, we're seeing an influx from, say, Colorado and California, and
Mhm.
they're able to sell their properties there, come and pay cash in, say, Cheyenne, and either work remotely or they just commute. They'll commute to
Mhm.
Fort Collins or Windsor or Denver. And yeah, but I
Mhm.
would say otherwise, I mean, I really feel for, say, the millennials or folks that maybe haven't been able to purchase a property yet, just with the inflated pricing and now the inflated interest rates.
Mhm.
It's becoming more challenging to get into property right now, which I really feel for that. Because I mean, I think my wife and I got into our first house for about $13,000, maybe, on a first time home buyer program. That was with down payment, closing costs, the
Yeah.
whole thing.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
very manageable. And now I think it's a lot higher, and our payment was fairly minimal compared to what
Free.
it would be today. Yeah. So So
Wow.
that's unfortunate, I think. But there is, to me, the inventory right now is increasing, and I think it's about the same as what it normally is. There's just properties not coming off the market as quickly this year based on those interest rates. Buyers are being a little more cautious.
Hmm.
They're kind of thinking a little bit more. It's not just like, oh, that home came on the market, boom, it's gone the next day. I
Yeah.
mean, there was a couple years where it was like that, and it was just too fast.
It was
So,
too fast and it didn't feel good. If you were representing a buyer, like I'm always representing a buyer as a lender. So it felt really ugly to see buyers just walking into no appraisal, no inspection, nothing to protect them,
yeah,
non-refundable earnest money, and feeling like they had to do all of that and to risk their investment by not doing their due diligence. I know of a property that my clients were trying to buy, and the sellers of the property, they had bought in that type of position and they'd never had an inspection, but my buyers had an inspection and there were massive structural issues with this house, like massive, massive. And here's this poor seller. My buyers, of course, walked because they weren't able to manage that. But here's this poor seller who bought at an inflated purchase price on a property that is not structurally sound, and they're stuck with it.
yeah, yeah.
Bad.
It was a tough market for sure. It
Yeah.
was like, and as a realtor, I always had to ask the question. We're standing outside the property, they're looking at it, and it's like, hey guys, what are your thoughts on this? Like, well, we like it, and it's like, okay. I always had to ask the question, if we woke up tomorrow and this property was no longer available, i.e., it went under contract, would you be upset? And if the answer is yes, then it's like, we're going to the office right now. We're going to write this contract and we're going to, make a strong offer at this thing.
Right.
Because I just did not want to be the reason that those people lost their dream home. So that was always the first question that I asked them was like, hey, would you be upset if we woke up tomorrow and this is no longer available? And if the
It's a
answer
great
was
question.
yes, we're going.
Hmm.
Like, don't mess around. Like,
Yeah.
let's go get it.
Right.
So
Are you seeing lowball offers right now? Are you seeing buyers trying to lowball?
both price reductions and lowball offers, very
Mhm.
common right now. Like I said, I think it's definitely a buyer opportunity market as far as that goes. I've had a lot of listings so far this year, and even we have had to consider, like, hey, I think we might be a little bit high on this. Yeah, we have sold comparables at this price,
Right.
but that was the crazy market where
A
people were
different
just
market. Yeah.
going over asking. And so, yeah, you really have to adjust to the different markets and different times. And we realized that it's like, look, there's 20 to 40 homes on the market in your price range, and we have to somehow stand out and be that number one listing if you want this to sell.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that just came with price reductions. I mean, you can't change the location. So if the condition was already good, we knew it was price. So
Hmm. What's
immediately,
your kind of average day on market right now?
oh shoot, I bet it changes in every price range, of course, but I would say we're looking at 30 to 45 days is probably more what we're looking at right now.
Far more reasonable. And it
Yeah,
allows our buyers to take 5 seconds to look at a property, to both spouses to come and look at it, allows them time to bring mom over, lets the
yeah.
kids pick a bedroom, the things that are kind of a part of determining whether or not your family even likes this. It feels better, but
It's way better from an agent perspective. I mean, in the last couple of years, I've had people that I was doing FaceTime showings with them, and then they would make an offer. It's just like, how is that sustainable? You didn't even step foot in the property and you're writing paper on this thing. So,
did Wyoming add to their contract whether or not the buyer has physically been in the property?
no, no, it never showed up on our forms, but it probably should have. Yeah.
Ours did. And it was a really big negative on an offer if a buyer had not yet been in the property. It was causing, the contract to be weighted differently than somebody who had walked in because we had so many and then they were falling out in inspection because somebody would walk in and not like the way the place smelled and then they were, falling out of contract. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it was bananas there for a while. I don't know that I would want to go back to that. Yes, it was a very profitable few years and we made a lot of money, but the trade-off was extreme
Yeah.
and it didn't feel great.
It doesn't feel good. No, it's like the money is whatever. This is a service industry, and
Mm-hmm.
you want to take care of the people first and foremost. So
Mm-hmm. I feel like the thing that just baffles my brain, and a conversation that I'm having a lot with buyers right now, is that why is it that as a buyer, you were okay paying 50, 70, $100,000 over ask, which is over value. You're in the negative with your equity. You were okay with that when interest rates were 3%. But now that your interest rates are 7%, you're uncomfortable buying a house at value, or even 10 to 20, $30,000 below value. So you have $30,000 in equity. It's like, it doesn't make sense in the way people are thinking. How are you talking people through that to help them like connect the dots on that?
I think ultimately it comes down to the monthly. It's whatever people can afford monthly. I always look at that. I don't think people anymore even look at purchase price as like a main factor. It's like, what is the monthly?
Mm-hmm.
If they can afford the monthly, the purchase price is whatever. It's almost irrelevant, which is kind of strange to me. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's like with the higher interest rates, I mean, we're seeing payments just continue to increase. So I
Mm-hmm.
think they're making these offers on purchase price lower based on where it's going to put their monthly.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I would put it. But yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, seller motivation too. I mean, it just depends. If you've got sellers that maybe have already purchased a property somewhere else
Mm-hmm.
and they don't want to sit on two mortgages,
Mm-hmm.
seeing that here and there where it's like, yeah, we don't want to sit on two mortgages for long, so let's drop the price,
Yeah.
and then they drop the price, and then a buyer comes along and then they drop the price some more, that they low ball them from there even. But it's like you just got to figure out where people are at and what their motivation is, I think, what their
We're just
situation.
seeing so many sellers that are landlocked into their property because of their rate, and just unwilling or unable to sell, because if they were to buy even a lateral move, the prices, I mean, they don't have the equity that we talk about, being able to sell this property, make a lot of money because you don't owe a lot, but then you're buying at such a high level that it's a lateral move, and then your payments jumping up $1,000, $2,000 a month because of the rate. And so they're just landlocked. They're just not willing or able to let go of that real estate.
Yep. And we're seeing the same exact thing. It's just, I think the best move right now, buying and selling wise, is probably for the downsizer, because if you can sell and maybe take some of your equity and then you're downsizing, I mean, those are the people that are probably winning right now. Otherwise, if you're in an upsized position, it's difficult. You might have doubled your interest rate of what you had, 2 to 3 to 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a tough pill to swallow for people. I think that's, a big thing of what's going on.
Yeah, I'm having a little bit of a different conversation with people than we've had in the past, to say, hey, mortgage insurance is still tax deductible. We all need tax deductions in order to make the tax situation work out. Instead of taking your equity and applying 100% to your new home, let's take your equity and pay off everything else that you owe.
Yeah.
Everything. Pay every student loan off, pay every vehicle loan off, every single credit card, because we've never had such a high rate of consumer debt ever in our country. So utilizing that money to get rid of all that high interest debt. And then even though you're going in at like a 5% down payment now, and you have mortgage insurance, you have the tax deduction, and you have none of the other payments, and you just increased your financial position by making that decision.
Yeah. And what a good service as a lender to do that for people. I mean, just coaching them into removing their debt. Because I
Yeah.
mean, say the interest rate does go down in the next few years, their debt to income ratio looks a lot different now, and they can qualify for more property. Maybe the interest rate's more manageable, their monthly's lower.
Mm-hmm.
They get into their dream home all of a sudden because you've now removed their debt 3 years ago or 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's great. Good for you.
Yeah. And they're not getting chased by those payments. It just seems like, I mean, Dave Ramsey, like him or not, he's kind of got mixed feelings about Dave, but that is the advice that, that he's giving a lot of our people. And, we have people bringing up Dave Ramsey all the time. And that's what he says, like, get rid of that debt. We've got to get rid of that debt. And that just feels so good to just have just your mortgage
Yeah,
and your regular bills. So,
yeah,
and your dream home at the same time.
exactly. That's a huge weight off of people's shoulders, I think, for sure.
Yeah. So, Justin, how do you define success at this point in your career?
I guess overall happiness, repeat business, any positive feedback from my clients. A lot of people think success, oh, money. It's like for me, that's a spillover of what comes from doing things right, and just taking care of people. And I think if you think about the people and think about the service that you're providing and do a great job, the income, that's just going to come. You don't have to worry about that. So that's pretty much how, I need to figure out how to measure it. I haven't necessarily looked at that in my business yet. You get so wrapped up in being in the business that it's hard to work on your business sometimes. I know that's kind of a thing that Larry Kendall talks about with ninja selling is like, hey, don't open your email for the first hour of the day.
Ugh.
Like, use that opportunity to work on your business and then not in your business. Save that for later in the day when you need to make your calls and do that stuff. So
Yeah.
just the time management side of that thing. But yeah, so I don't know, just overall happiness, I guess. I don't know.
Mhm.
Mental health is a huge part of success, I think. Everyone
Yeah.
kind of goes to income and, oh, he's successful, he's making money. It's like,
Right.
is he happy or is she happy?
Yeah.
That's more important in my eyes.
Just in this market shift. I mean, we've had almost 2 years of a heightened interest rate. I mean, I remember when the interest rates popped up, it feels like it's been 2 years. I guess it hasn't yet quite been 2 years, but there was, going from such a high income level, and that felt successful. Like we felt successful. All of our bills were paid. We had money in the bank. Of course, we had no time.
Right.
We were horrible parents, horrible spouses, horrible friends, not pleasant to be around at all. Going to two realtors or a lender and a realtor going out for dinner or a cocktail was hilarious because we spent the entire time just staring at our phone. But I've been talking with my husband and my team about, with this move that we've made and the move that my team has been able to make too, about like, we're redefining what happiness looks like, redefining it. And what is it that we want? Because more money doesn't solve all these problems. Being a present parent, being a present spouse, being a present friend, being able to have a normal sleep schedule, being able to, take care of our bodies. And like, that is what happiness looks like at this stage. And it's kind of amazing. It's mind blowing to me because I'm very much a numbers person. I had a defined number.
Sure.
So do you
Yeah.
have any big goals for your business, or what does that look like?
I guess before we started the podcast, you asked if I was a broker, and I think that's probably my next step.
Mm-hmm.
Probably looking to broker management classes, maybe even expanding to some different states, I think is kind of where I'm at next in my business.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll probably be looking heavily at those things in the next handful of years just to kind of be able to expand a little bit
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
into
Is
some
your
different markets.
is your dad still in the industry?
He is. Yep.
And how old is your dad?
He is 74.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Do you think that you'll stay in that long?
Gosh, if I'm anything like him, yes, he's type A. He can't sit still. I don't know what he would do if he stopped. So yeah, he's still
Yeah.
active. And, we talked this morning. Hey, Jay just listed one. Our pastor at the church basically just listed his property. And so yeah, it's fun that we're both in the same business too. We get to kind of spitball ideas back and forth at each other. And it's just cool to have that relationship with my dad. And
Still
it's
the
fun.
same brokerage?
Yes. Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. That's
Yeah,
so
it's a lot of
cool.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're probably not going to quit early like your dad. That's so cool. That's so
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. Well, this has been awesome, Justin. You're phenomenal. And I know our guests are going to love this. So thank you so much for your time. You are so wise and so chill with all of it going on. So I think it's so cool.
Hey, thanks, Colin. I appreciate you having me. It's been fun.
You bet. Thanks again for listening to this week's episode of the Success Realtor podcast. Just as a reminder, I'm the producing branch manager of the Wood team at Hometown Lenders. What we are known for are three things. Number one, we close on time. Number two, we keep our realtors in the sales seat at all times by keeping them updated on their current transactions so they're not worried to go out and get another one. Number three, when you entrust us with a lead, we follow up on that lead until they buy, fly, or die. Leads are never lost to our lack of follow-up. Our number one priority is for you to earn more money in commissions so that you can improve the lives of your family, community, and in turn, our country. So can I count on you for that next buyer lead? I would love to work with you too. Also, if you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, please just reach out to my office. All right, we'll talk to you when you call in, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Success Realtor podcast. Bye-bye.